Ellie McKissick, our impact player for Florida, coming in with a record of 19-5. Second all-time in digs for the Florida Gators. 9th all-time in aces. Passes expertly. It's an overstatement, but any serve going to the young woman wearing number 23 in the white jersey from Auburn would probably be listed as a serving error. These two teams meeting for the 62nd time. Florida has dominated the series. And Alexis Stuckey, All-American setter as a freshman, well documented the severe injury that she suffered early last season. About 14 months into her recovery, Missy, and when we spoke with Mary Wise earlier in the week, that kind of injury probably takes 18 months, maybe 20, but in the starting lineup and rounding in to one of the best in the business. Underway. And Auburn in their home orange jerseys, and right away a nice kill by the Kentucky transfer Bella Bell.
It's really interesting. These teams played just over a week ago, and things went the Florida Gators' way in a very quick sweep. But here we meet again with major differences. Alexis Stuckey, the keys to the offense for Florida. It was all Taylor Parks in the first meeting. And we see Auburn in a 5-1 now. Bella Bell playing in the middle rather than the right side.
Good throw over the top of the block that time. We're going to call her name and number a lot. Kennedy Martin, 6'6" sophomore out of Fort Mill, South Carolina. Second team All-American last year. 5.3 kills per set. That's tied for second. Not in the conference, in the country. And has been absolutely remarkable. Record setting, as you pointed out, Missy. 30 kills in 3 of her last 7 matches. And answering out of the back row, nicely done in serve receive, and immediately Lauren Dreves, 6'1" freshman out of Vancouver, Washington, with a kill.
And she was not available in the first meeting between these two teams, so Auburn has her back out on the court. They're hoping that that could help turn things around. And the flip side of that, Florida, as you notice, without A.C. Fitzpatrick, they have now had an injury at every position aside from Lee Burrow. So we see Lauren Harden taking a swing right now for Florida on the outside.
Lauren Harden out of Fisher, Indiana, 6'3" freshman. Her first start will be against Auburn right now. It's a good coming out party. Florida is playing very, very well, winners of 8 in a row. Here's McKissick, back for the first time. Good service pressure. Pretty good set, nicely done. That ball through the block and down, nice swing. Number 12, Belle Zimmerman, putting that ball away.
This is one of the big strengths of Auburn, and that is that they have interchangeable pins. Belle Zimmerman, who really swings the majority of the balls from the right side, is just as comfortable in serve receive to go up and whack at that left side as well.
Love it when they whack off the left side. See Madison Shear back to serve. Both teams very, very good in first ball contact. And Jayla August, a high flyer, 6'2" freshman out of Spring, Texas, 4th in the league in hitting efficiency at .406. And you saw what? Here is Martin, dangerous server.
Option.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. That's a pretty good connection. Serving the front court attacker. Good first ball contact by McKissick, and then connection out of the middle once again to August.
Paul, you mentioned the fact that Kennedy Martin is a quality server. We've already talked about her front court game, but notice she went right at freshman Lauren Dreves. Lauren Dreves just passed 48 balls against Texas. We'll see if Florida follows suit and goes at the freshman all night.
Well, that was a good game plan for Texas. They won that matchup 3-0. Dug by McKissick. Out of the back row, area 1 or 1.5, if you will, but that ball just missed just a little bit wide.
I tell you, if you thought you couldn't see any more attempts from Kennedy Martin, think again. Because without A.C. Fitzpatrick in the front row, you better believe they're gonna work that arm tonight of Kennedy Martin. They do not want to have to use Lauren Harden, who's playing in her first start for Florida in any out-of-system situations. They want to give her every opportunity to succeed. So they will use Kennedy Martin as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. They also have Isabel Martin, who's very, very qualified. A.C. Fitzpatrick out with a recurring knee injury, and Mary Wise telling us they certainly hope that she will be back for the remainder of their schedule. Like Auburn, they too have a couple of matches left. Isabel Martin looking for a touch, the transfer from UNLV.
Well, we will we get the early challenge? I think so. That Kennedy Martin swing out of the middle back. All Florida players were motioning touch there.
There is our first look at the Hall of Famer Mary Wise and her 34th season, 1,064 wins. One of only 2 coaches ever, the other being Russ Rose, to be 3-time National Coach of the Year.
The original decision was the
Crouch in his 5th year at Auburn, back-to-back NCAA tournaments. That had never been done at Auburn. Auburn Tigers have been to the NCAA tournament, Missy, you know this, 3 times total. He's been there twice. The last time prior to his arrival was in 2010. So coming over from USC and previously to that, rebuilding the Portland program from ground
After the
zero.
review, the original decision is confirmed. The ball is out. Florida will lose their challenge.
Interesting. Challenge, ball in or out, touch off of the block, touch off a defender, ball up or down on the pancake. Mary Wise absolutely loved that call. So the ball out and a couple of early, very unique misses by Kennedy Martin.
And
Auburn at 14 and 10.
Yeah, because of the reliance that they're going to have on Kennedy Martin with Lauren Harden in the starting lineup for the first time, I wouldn't be surprised to see her efficiency drop a little tonight. They're just going to have to overload her with some bad situation balls.
Hitting 375 on the year. And given the difficult swings that she takes, very, very nice pass. Auburn with a chance, rip inside, dug by McKissick. Our impact player has certainly been having that very early on. Nice block out of the middle. Very nicely done. Good work once again by August, both offensively and now defensively.
Florida very much a team in the works, in progress over the course of the season, and a large part of that is due to the fact that they are very young in the middle. We're seeing Jayla August right now, and opposite her, Florida has been using Alec Roth, another freshman. So those are 2 players that just continue to get better.
Emily Cannon, defensive specialist on. Very good first contact, leads to a good strong side out. Nicely done by Auburn. Pretty good offensive rhythm so far, even with Peyton Dunn, the quote-unquote backup setter on the floor, killed by Zimmerman.
Particularly nice swings from Belle Zimmerman here early to get things going, and I think that alleviates some pressure from the left sides, particularly that youngster Lauren Dreves, who did not play in the last outing against Florida. If they can get Belle Zimmerman going, it really splits the net, and it could spread the middle block thin for Florida.
On the tight pass, Joust coming, Stuckey with the tip. Chance again in transition. Look at McKissick. And on the other side, DaCosta with the dig for Auburn, the transfer from Baylor. Connection not there out of the back row. And Isabel Martin wearing number 17 in the dark blue with the kill on the outside for the Florida Gators.
And I'll tell you, I like the choice by Kennedy Martin. She passes the ball over the net. She does not air out of that rally. When you've got Lauren Dreves swinging consistently into left back and L.A. McKissick is digging that ball, just extend the rally. Give your team another chance.
Emerson Hoyle out of Arden, North Carolina on to serve. I mentioned that those were very dark blue uniforms, very, very dark. They're actually black. Give them that. Nice looking unis. Good first contact in transition. Roth is dug. Boy, the left back players right now for Florida are doing an outstanding job, and out of rhythm right now is Kennedy Martin. That's the 3rd ball that she's hit out of bounds cross body.
Florida has been so high efficiency this season, and what's amazing is they've done it off of 2 different setters as we've watched them flip between Alexis Stuckey and Parks, Taylor Parks, the freshman. But if this connection doesn't turn around here early, you have to wonder if they'll make a change.
Good flying defense by Auburn, and right back at you by McKissick. Number 23 in the Libero jersey has been fantastic early on for the Gators. And that ball to the floor. Good work. That once again, Bella Bell, 6'3" grad student out of Blythewood, South Carolina. Mentioned a transfer from Kentucky some years ago in the fall season, or I should say the spring. Won a national championship with the Wildcats. First SEC team to win a national championship. Good start for Auburn. And Martin gets away with one. That ball's got to come up. Auburn got to dig that ball.
look at Izzy Martin. Plays in 6 rotations for Florida, a transfer from UNLV, has just been a really nice addition to this team. Her ball control, her passing, they ask her to block. She does a lot. Sometimes goes unnoticed.
How many balls has McKissick dug already? That ball ripped down the line by Martin.
Well, let me tell you, she has dug 8 balls already, Paul, Ellie McKissick. And I think what I see in Ellie McKissick now in her 5th year is that she used to keep balls off the floor. Now she keeps balls off the floor in rhythm. They can run their offense off of her digs. They've called her their rock, and boy, has that played out over the course of the season. As I mentioned, they've been hurt in every area of the game. They've had an injury in the middle, on the right side, and now on the left side without AC Fitzpatrick tonight, but she has been their constant. And, you know, Mary Wise said she is a leader for us, and they really, really lean into her, and she couldn't be playing her best volleyball at a better time.
2018 digs all time. Even I can do the math now with 2026. That is 2nd all time on the Gators list. Tucked inside by Martin. Just to finish the thought on McKissick, the 5'6" graduate out of Windermere, Florida. Elise Cossack has 2,138, and Ellie McKissick, if she keeps this pace up, is going to fly by and become the #1 all-time defender at the University of Florida. Really good start. Good early play by both teams, tied at 9. And rejected. Kennedy Martin, along with some help from 6'3" freshman Roth. Martin out of Germany, 6-foot redshirt senior, as you mentioned. Played for Don Sullivan at UNLV, who's doing such a fabulous job rebuilding the program at Missouri. It's going to be a net violation. That'll bail out Missouri. That ball hit out of bounds, missed by Madison Shear. Out of Eureka, Missouri. Fastest player ever in an Auburn uniform to 1,000 kills. Now has 1,056.
And as you said, Florida bails are out because Madison Shear has yet to register a kill yet. So she hasn't really gotten hot yet. Kennedy Martin hasn't really gotten hot yet, but they got some players around him helping him out.
Well, that's why we featured him before the match.
That's right.
Exactly right. Florida 10-3 in the conference, winners of 8 in a row. They were picked to finish 2nd in the SEC behind Texas. Texas has been a very interesting story so far in the year, but the closing chapter for the Texas Longhorns, the way they're playing now in the 5-1 and Maddie Skinner flying out of the back row, they look like a very dangerous team, one you do not want to see in your bracket. Unforced error here by Auburn. Can't give free points to a good team.
A really nice serve by Ellie McKissick, and that has been a strength of Florida, and something that really sets this team apart from some Florida teams of the past is that in all 6 rotations, they've been 6 strong from the service line.
Doesn't tell the whole story, but they're best in the conference in terms of aces per set. Very nicely done off the right side once again. That was Madison Shear. That's a quality swing. 14 kills on 48 swings in the loss last Friday to Texas.
She wasn't going to get out of the front row without a kill, so she sends herself to the service line.
She heard you, Missy, even though
That's
you're
right.
Well, you're not so far away. How far
Not
is
too
Gainesville? For not too bad, a couple hours.
Yeah.
Not well handled by Auburn. They got to get a swing out of that. And same, another ball handling mistake. Off speed, McKissick almost in double figures with Diggs. Lauren Harden with the swing and a good block. That led by number 14, Chelsea McCurdy, 6'3" grad out of Puyallup, Washington, a transfer from Portland where Brent Crouch was several years ago.
So smart from Auburn to challenge Alexis Stuckey in her right back defense. We've talked about the fact that she is working to come back from this injury, but still some limited movements in some areas. And so forcing her to play defense could make her uncomfortable.
And Martin cannot be handled, just too much velocity. Something that struck me, and Missy, I want to run this past you. Name another outstanding SEC player that comes from Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Well, I happen to know this one, so is this cheating?
It's not cheating. You just know your stuff.
It's Sophie over at Georgia. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Sophie Fisher.
Sophie Fisher. So interesting that they're both out of the state of South Carolina.
Good block touch by Auburn. And that ball missed out of bounds. That's an unforced error that time by Belle Zimmerman. Yeah, last year's SEC Player of the Year, Sophie Fisher, who has not, quite frankly, and honestly been playing up to that level throughout the course of this season. So she is an SEC Player of the Year out of Fort Mill, South Carolina, and Kennedy Martin probably the front runner to repeat that order. So if you're a young player from Fort Mill, South Carolina, you've got a bright future in the SEC.
That's exactly right.
Good step in by McKissick, and Harden. Impressive swing by number 24, Lauren Harden. Pressed into duty. The injury to A.C. Fitzpatrick, and Florida and Auburn, as we expected. This important match, both off to a pretty solid start. The Gators, 3-0. Martin had 20 kills. Florida out-hit Auburn 427 to 130 in that one. And mentioned right off the top of first serve that this series historically has been absolutely dominated by the Florida Gators through the years, the 62nd meeting all time. But last couple of years, ever since Brent Crouch got to Auburn, it has been a much more compelling matchup. Auburn went down to Florida and won 3-0 in Gainesville last year. That got a lot of attention, and then Florida came back and beat Auburn in 5 in Neville last year. So these two teams very close the last couple of seasons. Harden is slowed. Chance in transition. Don't hit the ball to McKissick.
Yeah.
She's digging everything. Allie McKissick has been the best player on the floor so far, the libero for Florida. Martin with her 4th kill after a slow start.
And the only thing she hasn't accomplished is she didn't quite steal that first ball from Kennedy Martin so that Kennedy could get back and be ready to attack. But she gets the next swing from Auburn, and Kennedy was certainly ready to go.
Ball served just out of bounds. Thanks so much for joining us on the SEC Network. College volleyball coming your way. Season winding down. Selection Sunday is a week from this Sunday, and we will finally see the bracket.
I don't know if there's been a year. Yeah, Paul, I don't know if there's been a year where I feel like there's still so much to be determined in the amount of time that's left to play about what we're going to see on Selection Sunday. I don't feel like it's in stone yet by any means.
Well, I really agree with that. And when you look down the entire RPI, I think the only things that are set in stone is that Pitt's going to be a #1 seed and Nebraska is going to be a #1 seed. But when you look at Penn State, Creighton, Stanford, and Louisville, those are a lot of moving parts that are still TBD. Kanaan comes in to serve, and then who are going to be 13, 14, 15, 16 that get to host. And that, as you pointed out before first serve, is exactly what Florida is pointing for. Play the first couple of rounds in Gainesville. Nice swing once again. Jayla Auguste with the kill off the edge of the block. Outstanding young player wearing number 4. Yes, in black for the Florida Gators, who are out to their largest lead. So with the timeout, Florida leading 18-13. Coming up next, it's the 4th annual CM Newton Classic. Senior guard Mark Sears leads number 8 Alabama against number 25 Illinois at Legacy Arena in Birmingham. Alabama taking on another Big Ten opponent. They lost at Purdue last week. Purdue is a very, very good team, as you know. Tough place to play. 3 matches remaining for Auburn. At Oklahoma, at Missouri. First up, they got to take care of business against Florida. Missy, they got to win. They have to win out in order to get in the tournament.
Yeah, this is a team that even, winning out, they could have a losing record in conference play. And so I don't know how the committee is going to look at that. The good news for Auburn is that they still have the Florida, the Oklahoma, the Mizzou out there. 3 teams who are led by 3 very good players across the SEC, by the way. But because of that schedule, it gives them an opportunity for some statement wins, but it also puts a lot of pressure on Auburn, who's lost that 8 in a row. And the committee is going to look at your most recent 10.
They do have quality wins over Kentucky and Florida State. That was 3-2, the win over Kentucky to kick off SEC play. But Brent Crouch, we had a very good conversation with a fine head coach. And you turn back the dial. You can't replay things. We replay things, but you can't as a team. And losses to Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, where they out-hit and outscored all of those opponents. But you got to win 3 sets. It's not a cumulative situation like basketball upcoming. McKissick again. Florida with the 5-point advantage. Guess who? August. Nice run that time by Alexis DaCosta. Excellent block touch. Oh, that's a dangerous play. Almost going under the net, causing some contact, and they will call a violation on that particular play. Martin with a big swing.
Ellie McKissick just doing such a nice job keeping Florida in rhythm. She's giving them every chance to score. Really, the other Gators just need to get out of the way. Let Ellie have first ball.
This is one of the best defensive performances I've seen numerically in a long time. Very nice set in transition, also by McKissick. That is her 12th, make it her 13th dig on the hitter coverage. Auburn got to get out of this rotation. Oh, good block by August.
Freshman on freshman there. Dreves swinging into August, two players who could very well find their names on the all-freshman team in the Southeastern Conference. And that's a really nice matchup for those two.
Big run here for Florida, 8-1 run. At the media timeout, it was 15-13. Oh, that's a good swing. Really good swing by Zimmerman, 6'2" junior out of Liberty, Missouri. Played 24 matches last year. Having a nice season, 2.7 kills, hitting at 250. That's a nice efficiency playing against the team she has.
And Paul, I think one of the reasons Zimmerman has been able to perform is that she's one of the few players that's been able to attack away from Ellie McKissick. Swing into right back. Do not let McKissick defend.
Yeah, dominating that area of the floor. Anything hit cross court right now is coming up. Out of the back row, good hitter coverage this time by Stuckey. Out of system setting, well done. The assist to number 23, McKissick, best player on the floor, no doubt about it.
She only comes out for a half a rotation when she does not serve for one of the middle blockers. But other than that, she is the constant for the Gators.
Ellie McKissick, our impact player, averaging 4 digs per set so far, 31 aces on the season, number 2 all-time in digs, number 9 all-time in assists, and she has been absolutely a vacuum cleaner on the left back.
Yeah, any swings into left back, there is a good chance they're not only coming up, but I think what we're seeing from Ellie McKissick in this, her 5th year, is that she is keeping this team in system with her balls up. And as you've mentioned several times, Paul, really does a nice job with her secondary setting.
Well, let's hope she's all right.
Yeah, I said they've had an injury.
I didn't see anything happen. Getting some attention along the sideline. As you mentioned, Missy, she's only out for half a rotation. Yes, there are half rotations. Somebody comes in and serves, and McKissick will go to the sideline. The tape was just coming a little loose. I wonder what the record is for most digs in a single set. She's got to be somewhere near it. That's a pretty esoteric number that we might be looking for, and she just told Mary Wise, I'm fine. And her passing numbers, you know, the defense is spectacular, as she has been. But the passing numbers, if you serve her, I mean, Florida is first ball siding out at a super, super high rate. Well over 50% good or perfect pass for the libero right at the end of your bench. They're going to miss her at the end of the season.
Yeah. And, you know, when you serve, the number of balls that she's passing, much like DaCosta for Auburn, they're asked to cover more than just 1/3 of the court. They're asked to shade one way, steal balls from one of the outsides. So they're passing at that high of a number, covering nearly half of the court most of the time. So it's just incredibly impressive.
And for Auburn, 4-9 in conference, lost 8 in a row after a very auspicious start to the season. And beat Kentucky to start SEC play, but it has been a real battle for them since. DaCosta digging the ball, but you got to keep the ball off the net. And that is going to be a net violation. DaCosta, I know a tough chance, but you got to keep that ball at the 3-meter line. Give your team a chance as Alec Roth drew Auburn into the violation. There is DaCosta, 5'11" junior out of Katy, Texas. Mentioned that she transferred from the Baylor Bears. Good swing. Really good swing by Shear out of the back row.
And they won't necessarily use her in all 6 rotations, but they like using her serve. They feel like it gives them an opportunity to score points. And then they've got to have that big attack, because Lauren Dreves is a freshman outside. When she's in the front row, it just alleviates some of the pressure on her in out-of-system plays.
Good play in Roth was playing out of position some at the opposite, right, Missy? You're right there in Gainesville. The former Gator is right there. So you know how versatile number 25 in black has been so far in her first campaign.
Yeah, Kennedy Martin missed 7 matches with a really severe high ankle sprain, and they had to move Alec Roth to the right side, and she was just incredible playing out of position. So it actually creates some depth for Florida that they need.
Nice transition opportunity off the edge. Number 17 in black, Isabel Martin with the kill. Boy, we got to a set point very, very quickly for Florida. Remember, it was 15-12 at the media timeout. Stuckey again. Excellent first ball. Leads to a good, much-needed side out. Auburn really needed that. Good swing once again by Shear out of the back row and now off the left.
Madison Shear gets that arm through quickly and sneaks it right between Alec Roth and Kennedy Martin.
Set point number 2, Bella Humphrey, defensive specialist on to serve. Looking for Martin off the left side. Reball, set point opportunity for the Gators. Good block touch. Working against Martin, Kennedy Martin. And then in transition, through the block and down, Lauren Dreves able to put that ball away.
Smart swing by Dreves because it's away from left back. Don't give Ellen McKissick a chance.
That's exactly right.
The touch by Stuckey, and watch Canaan. I mean, no quit in Canaan, who could very well, Paul, be the heir apparent to McKissick in that Libero jersey next year.
Good point. Very, very capable. It took 3 tries, but Alec Roth able to tap that ball to the floor, and Florida comfortably takes the opening set on the road. Get this, Mary Wise and her Gators are a perfect 5-0 on the road so far this year, and they're showing you why in the SEC. They take the opening set. Back in Auburn, Alabama, SEC volleyball coming your way. Number 20, Florida, looking very, very solid, consistent, and composed in taking the opening set by a score of 25-17.
And Paul, we completely expect the 4 kills from Kennedy Martin, but Florida's going to need a little help, and it's coming from the middle and the outside tonight when you see Jayla Auguste there with 4 kills already without a single error, and Isabel Martin joins her in that category, errorless on the day, hitting 385 from that left pin and actually leading the way with 5 kills. And they've been smart swings when she's been matched up against the smaller blocker. She's using hands, not trying to do too much, just managing the game like you would hope your left side can do.
You've seen the Gators all season long here, Missy. I'm just wondering how you think that they're playing towards the end of the SEC regular season. How dangerous can they become tournament time?
I think they can be very dangerous. I think my only concern from that set 1 is the Kennedy Martin hitting efficiency at 0.91. And my concern being that as Florida flips back and forth between the 2 setters, we've seen Taylor Parks at times, we've seen Alexis Stuckey. I think on the tempo of play, it's a lot to ask of these attackers to go from one setter to the other. I think Florida does the right thing by keeping both setters available and both setters hot, because I think they certainly are a better team with both of them available. But Kennedy Martin, her back row connection right now with Alexis Stuckey just isn't there. And so we'll see if they can fix that.
Just underway here once again at Neville Arena in Auburn, Alabama. Nice kill out of the middle off a good first contact by Alec Roth. And Mary Wise talked to us at some great length about the luxury of having Taylor Parks along with Alexis Stuckey and how supportive they are of one another. I mean, there's not this competition, but then Stuckey is coming back from such a serious injury that if things don't go well in terms of recovering in practice, Florida has the luxury of 2 very, very high-quality setters. McKissick again, right where she left off. McKissick, at the end of the first set, was credited with 14 digs. Martin again, number 18 in black.
I like that ball early in this set. Just a simple, not super fast-paced, a simple ball behind to Martin. They just need to create some confidence between the two of them right now.
There is number 20, Taylor Parks, 5'11" freshman out of Clearwater, Florida. First-team high school All-American. Played a lot of volleyball early on. Alexis Stuckey missed the first 7, if not 8 matches of the year, still on the road to recovery from that devastating injury that she suffered back at the beginning of last year.
And Paul, to that point, when Alexis Stuckey finally did return to the lineup, Kennedy Martin was out of the lineup, and she was out for 7 matches with that high ankle sprain. So these two are not in mid-season form yet, playing together. They're each individually getting there, or at least Kennedy Martin is. I'm not sure that Alexis Stuckey will be in mid-season form this year with the magnitude of her injury, but their connection is certainly not at mid-season form.
Good swing by Shear, working against the aforementioned Alexis Stuckey. Was injured on September 17th versus number 1 Wisconsin of 2023, that is. Tore her MCL and ACL. Florida was 8-0 at the time, and they had wins over Stanford and Minnesota, and they were the talk of college volleyball until she had to leave the lineup and undergo major reconstructive surgery. Nice swing off the left side by Harden.
And I was just reminded, their first match without her was at Auburn last year, when they had to just completely regroup in what looked to be their season. A lot of people just said this could be the Gators' year, and it was heartbreaking.
Auburn in reception. That ball set too deep, just kept in play. Out of the back row is Dreves. Perfect first contact into August, and that's tapped down inside. Good work against McCurdy.
Nice set selection there by Alexis Stuckey, and that's what she does so well, her IQ, her ability to see the game. But Jayla August so often runs behind the setter off 1 foot. In this particular rotation, she's in the front row with Kennedy Martin, and I like the fact that Stuckey's not afraid to get her involved in the offense in front.
With that brace on the, as you can imagine, the injury was to her right knee, and that quick tap down off the missed serve reception for Auburn. Kennedy Martin and Florida. It was tied at 12, and then Florida closed it out on a 13-5 run. So Missy will take you over to the Auburn side. I mean, this is a team that's played some good volleyball, but they are trending in the wrong direction at the wrong time. Martin again, good block touch. Auburn relatively a nice job against Martin, dug by McKissick. Costa into the cross court, dug again by McKissick. Stop hitting the ball over there.
Another one.
Martin from about 9 feet off the net, and she just missed it out of bounds. Good play by both teams.
And when the Florida block can do their job and funnel balls into left back, if they're not going to touch them, funnel them that way, because if there is anybody who's going to extend the rally right now, it's Ellie McKissick.
Right side, back to Martin. Ball rattles through, kept alive, kept off the floor. Dreves given a free ball, and Dreves with a nice dig in middle back. A rare, and I do mean very rare so far, ball handling mistake by Ellie McKissick. She'd love to have that one back.
Yeah, I think she was trying to get a little more killable ball. It was the error just moments ago off of a pass from Ellie McKissick that went wide for Kennedy Martin, and that one was a little off the net. She tried to correct, and she just overcorrected.
Service winner down the line by Peyton Dunn, and Missy, Peyton Dunn was part of the 6-2 along with Kaylee Edson for much of the season, but then Edson became a solid, rock-solid 5-1 setter, singularly taken over the spot if Auburn doesn't find some life against a very good opponent, do you see a setter change? Because we saw Kaylee Edson warming up and she looked okay.
Yeah, I think it just depends on, we didn't see practice. Does she have enough to go? It's one thing to warm up, it's another thing to do it in live action, and she rolled that ankle or at least some sort of foot injury against Texas. It did appear to warm up, so I'm not sure if they've given her the green light or not.
Well, and Brent Crouch was telling us that the team offensively, particularly in first ball side out, and the connection with Madison Shear was just exceptional. That's why she had gotten the nod over Peyton Dunn. Oh, good swing. Lauren Harden, the 6'3" freshman out of Indiana, again in for the injured A.C. Fitzpatrick.
And I'll tell you what, that was a huge push by Alexis Stuckey, who's just so strong, has just beautiful hands, and she pushes that one all the way out to Lauren Harden. We mentioned they'd love to use her in in-system situations. That was not, and Harden still comes up with a big swing.
Very nice first ball contact, good delivery by Peyton Dunn.
And now Madison Shear starting to look like the player we would expect coming alive here. And I love the fact that these pins for Auburn do it from both sides. They are not afraid to go right pin or left pin and serve receive. It gives the setter so many options.
Cupping therapy, very popular in both Gainesville and Auburn. I've had it a few times, but it's not covered by insurance, so I'm very selective. Florida at 19-5 on the year, currently 10-3 in conference, in third place, and obviously with an RPI of 19 and a KPI of 15 solidly into the tournament. Unfortunate off the equipment for Brent Crouch's Auburn Tigers.
Well, they've added that Madison Shear serve to their lineup, and they feel like it's a serve that they can score points on. Nice, hard-driven one there. I think that's one of the reasons why November looks a lot different than August in volleyball, as you start to see all the cupping marks. You can tell it's getting late in the season. These players have put in some hours.
Mini run for Shear and for Auburn. And that ball just out of bounds. Good eye by Ellie McKissick.
And boy, that's one of the skills we don't talk about enough as a libero. We talk about the digging and the passing and the serving and the secondary setting, but the eye for seeing the ball out of the server's hands, that's a point. You make the right decision by letting the ball sail along, and that's the easiest way to score a point.
Emily Canan, 5'8" junior out of Allen, Texas. Very experienced in the defensive specialist role. And the heir apparent to McKissick coming next year. Nice pokey by Stuckey. Lot of block touches, but staying with it. Nicely done by Lauren Dreves.
And Lauren Dreves, as a freshman, Coach Crouch said they could not be more pleased with her, and yet they realized that she needs a spring of training to grow her game and to get stronger more than anything, just to add some heat to her attack. But I like the fact that she just swings smart there and goes for that deep corner.
Yeah, it's commonplace now, but a lot of highly recruited high school athletes irrespective of the sport come in the spring, and so she was one of many that have been contributing to this Auburn program that came last spring.
Alexis Stuckey there fighting for that tight pass, and it looked like she had won the joust, but trying to play it over her shoulder, it draws her into the net.
Tied at 9. Paige T-Bolt doing a good job from the service line, even against McKissick. Excellent dig. Ball set a little too tight, but somehow thumped through by the aforementioned Dreves.
Dreves trying to take advantage of these rotations where she doesn't have Kennedy Martin in the front row. So she got the setter in front of her, and Alexis Stuckey, a very solid blocker. So Dreves doing a nice job.
Auburn on a very, very impressive run right now, and it's exactly what they needed, a 9-3 run to take their first lead of the set. Dreves, Bella Bell up front. Bolt again. Pretty good serve reception. Nice dig. But that'll be wiped away. Fallon Lanham, number 4 in orange for the Auburn Tigers with a dig, but that'll be nullified on a net violation.
And Isabel Martin hovering just under 300 in terms of her hitting efficiency, yet to make an error so far today.
6 of 17. Kennedy Martin 8 of 20. But,
excuse me, my numbers update. She's above 300, Paul.
I was going to let it go, Missy. The computer's a little bit different speed-wise from one coast to the next. We're about as far apart as we could possibly be.
I'm closer. I think mine should update faster than yours.
Right. Fair point. Fair point. That ball served just out of bounds. Missy at her home in Gainesville, Florida. I'm out in Malibu, California. And Zimmerman will go back to serve. Belle Zimmerman been a nice-looking player so far.
This is another adjustment to their lineup in that in the 5-1, they've added Belle Zimmerman's serve as well. She was not serving in the 6-2. They had a setter coming in, and this is a player who went to Gainesville last year and reeled off some points from the service line. So they like sending her back there. Florida gets her off quickly. So good play again by Izzy Martin to end that service.
Yeah, very nicely done by Martin, as you well know, from pass to attack.
Yeah, some players really, it's often a strategy to serve that player who's in the front row, and it can rattle them, but then there's those outside hitters who it almost creates a rhythm for them, and you could see that there with Izzy Martin that time.
She has some beach volleyball in her future. An essential skill outside, making Stuckey get down and play some defense. Martin again doing a good job moving the ball around, has yet to commit a hitting error. Let your team play when you have blockers. The best blocking team in the SEC. When you've got Roth and Kennedy Martin up there, just keep the ball in and give them a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice help there in the middle. Kennedy Martin getting over there to close with Alec Roth.
I misspoke. Florida's at 2.2 blocks per set, but a lot of that was before Martin was in the lineup. Auburn is actually statistically a better blocking team.
And in the 5-1, they give up a little of that, Paul. So it's interesting, the give and take of the 6-2 and the 5-1, because in the 5-1, they now have a smaller setter going across the front row. And so Coach told us, we're going to need our passing and our serving because we know we're giving up a little blocking. He said, we've got to dig balls and we've got to serve well.
Martin getting a little greedy that time, slicing off way too sharp an angle. Point of possession back to Dreves and the Auburn Tigers. Florida won the opening set 25-17 after we were tied at 12. Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Washington. Saying a lot. There's some good high school volleyball in the state. What a dig by DaCosta. Both liberos, especially McKissick, have been spectacular. DaCosta, good read. Chance for Auburn once again. Not hit the ball into left back, area 4 or area 5. McKissick is all over it. Martin missed it out of bounds. Another hitting error.
And Kennedy Martin not typically swinging from the left pin, and she gets a feel for what it's like to have to battle the libero, because now all of a sudden she's swinging into left back, and a player who's typically a more skilled defender, she benefits from swinging from the right side into right back, where maybe she's got a setter back there who's thinking setting.
DaCosta now with 11 digs. Alexis DaCosta, the libero, and Isabel Martin once again been carrying a very, very effective load offensively for the 20th ranked Florida Gators. Up 1-0 and 15-13 in the second.
Kennedy Martin here in set 2 looking to heat up. She's taken 23 swings now for 8 kills, hitting only 130. But the good news is she's looked to reduce some of those errors here in the second set, find a rhythm, doing what she can do at the net, which includes a whole lot of blocking as well. And so we see her numbers, not exactly the efficiency that we have come to expect from her over the last 6 weeks. But I will say this, coming into this one with the injury to A.C. Fitzpatrick and the start for Lauren Hardin, we knew that they were going to use her in less than ideal situations, and that they were going to do it quite often and put her in some tough positions from the back row. We saw a few errors early there in the back row. She's also playing tonight with Alexis Stuckey as Florida continues to switch back and forth from setter to setter, and I think it takes a little time to wrinkle that out.
Isabel Martin once again very, very effective in reception, attacking, blocking as well, and this time from the service line. And Kennedy Martin had been playing at such an incredible level. I mean, 5 straight times, either SEC Player of the Week, SEC Offensive Player of the Week, which he had been 5 times, and just has a tremendous, tremendous upside still. She is going to be a star for a long time. Look at that.
And that's kind of what we're used to seeing with her high contact point and her jump and just the where she is contacting the ball above the net. She can swing so deep into the corners at angles that you just are not used to defending.
Oh, very smart shot. Didn't think somebody would be able to put that ball away in proximity to Ellie McKissick, but a very smart use of the court that time by Madison Shear, registering the kill. Shear now with 7 kills on 24 swings, having a busy night.
Veteran move.
Usually does.
Yeah, and a veteran move in that she's recognizing where the tip help is coming from. Lauren Harden releasing, and that's going to open up some space in left front. Now, if Auburn can get hot from the service line, this is key for them. Humphrey was so good against Texas. She point scored for them better than any other server in that Texas match. And so they would like to see her catch fire again.
Humphrey, the 5'9" freshman out of Lafayette, Indiana. Right in the shadow of Purdue. And you talk about siding out or point scoring right now. Auburn is only point scoring, and I'm so glad you raised it, at 38%, whereas Florida's point scoring at 52.4. What that means is 52.4% of the time when Florida serves, they score a point, and only 38 for Auburn. Here's McKissick. Tight pass. August just takes over that time on the joust with Dunn.
What good
Oh, they called a net violation.
Oh,
excuse me, Missy. Net violation called against August.
Yep,
yeah,
on the follow through. Yeah, good call. And it was good patience on the part of August. She didn't jump too soon. She waited so she could kind of have second push on that, but it was in the follow through that she got a piece of the net.
Perfect pass by McKissick. You cannot serve the libero for Florida. Outstanding in reception right now with 20 digs, and it's 19-16 in the second.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Came into the match with 2,018, now has 2,038, closing in on the #1 spot all time. Zimmerman looking for high hands and got it. Outstanding swing.
Yeah, the pin play of Zimmerman and Madison Shear. This is what Auburn volleyball has come to look like under Brent Crouch, and that's the play we're expecting. And you know that's why this 8-game losing streak has really come as a surprise, because this is a team who, if you watch them play, they don't look like a team who's lost 8 in a row, and they have battled against some SEC opponents, as you mentioned earlier, actually outscoring 3 opponents in SEC play and yet dropping those matches.
Timeout called by Florida after the service winner called it an ace from Madison Shear. So good work by Brent Crouch to add Shear to the service rotation. After she serves, she then gives way to a defensive specialist. Timeout called. Little mini run for Shear and Auburn back within 1. Madison Shear, 6'1" junior out of Eureka, Missouri.
And she's so good across the entire net, from the left pin to the right pin. We've seen her serve added that they had hoped would be beneficial, and it certainly has. And the back row offense is just another icing on the cake with that backcourt play that they're getting from Madison Shear.
7 kills, 3 digs. Has had a lot of activity to get there. Lauren Dreves as well, 4 of 24. Not good enough. Madison Shear, 7 of 24. Both of them need to up their kill percentage, but easier said than done, let alone against the block of Kennedy Martin and Augustin and all the rest, Isabel Martin, but also the defense of McKissick. Right from the first contact, it seems, Missy. I mean, talk about how important liberos have become. She's basically taking away an entire section of the court.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the goal. You want that player eating up as many balls as they can. There have actually been a few moments here tonight where middle back or left front have cut her off. And, you know, her ball control is so elite. And honestly, she's usually quite vocal. I'm surprised they were able to get one from her, because she plays with confidence and she's aggressive now as a fifth-year player, as she should be. But I'll tell you what, you want her touching as many first balls as you can. And her responsibility on the court is just growing.
Remember, we had a very good time with the one and only Morgan Hentz, a 3-time national champion for the Stanford Cardinal. We called it Hentzville because there was just that whole section of the court that was just hers. That was her zip code. Nothing hit the floor over there. McKissick has been that good so far. Harden with a smart shot. Chance here again for Auburn. Harden again and missed it out of bounds. Pressed into the starting lineup because of the injury to A.C. Fitzpatrick.
And you saw Auburn was able to get Florida out of system by serving Harden. We've yet to see them really take advantage of their placement from the service line and make Florida uncomfortable, because we've seen players like Ellie McKissick able to cut off balls and serve past so much of the court, but they really need to keep balls off McKissick. Now you see the adjustment there as Florida lines up with a 3-person serve receive, and then when the player goes to contact the ball, they jump into 2. So they're allowing Lauren Harden to step out, and then they're asking Isabel Martin and Ellie McKissick to split the court.
Yeah, wonderful call, Missy. Those are some of the subtleties, the game within a game, that can really decide things, particularly when you're in quote-unquote a weaker serving reception pattern. Florida back on top by 1, and just like that, Auburn donating a point to the Florida Gators. Kanan, look at her serving numbers, really solid. 22 aces on the year, 29 errors, but gives consistent service pressure.
And guess who's checked in for Florida? And they are not afraid to make the change at any time. We've got a setting change for Florida. Taylor Parks.
And into it right away, getting caught up in a joust. She's wearing number 20, the bottom of your screen. Started all the matches the beginning of the year when Alexis Stuckey was still recovering from that devastating injury. A very, very talented setter. First team high school All-American, top recruit.
Interesting, Paul, she had not planned to graduate early. She was going to stay through the spring of her senior year, and when that injury occurred, they immediately pushed things into overdrive so that she could get to Florida early.
And once again, Missy, you live in Gainesville. Nice kill by Kennedy Martin off of Parks out of the back row. What are the similarities? What are the key differences between the two setters for Florida?
You know, I think they're both, they both are so elite in their delivery, their consistency, the fact that they put up a hittable ball time and time again. I think Alexis Stuckey has maybe elite hands. I think Taylor Parks has really good feet to go with really good hands. And I think they're both such high IQ players and understand the game and spread the ball out so well. And, you know, they're well coached there at Florida. So, as Mary Wise said, she's the luckiest coach to have two setters of that caliber. I mean, it doesn't happen very often.
Stuckey, 6'2", redshirt sophomore out of Laramie, Wyoming. In her rookie season, she was the SEC Freshman of the Year. Touch was called off the right side. Florida leading at 22-21.
So no challenge here from Florida, but they are sending their floor captain over to the up official for some explanation.
That is the first referee, Bill Stanley, the second referee, Brian Hemmelgarn. We've had one challenge so far, and that was not upheld, so Florida has one challenge remaining. Touch was called on the original attack, and the linesman came over and confirmed. And so we're going to have another challenge. Mary Wise and her staff and players thought that that ball was straight out of bounds. So we'll have a challenge.
And if Florida were to lose this challenge, they would be without a challenge then, unless we were to go to a fifth set.
Florida is challenging their touch on the.
Well, the challenge is that there was no touch on the block. And just to review, every team comes in with two challenges. And as we look through these angles, there's Roth out of the middle. This is obvious. This is always the most difficult one. You can challenge ball in or out, touch off the block, net violation, ball up or down on a pancake, 4 contacts, or back row attack. Good swing by Belle Zimmerman, looking high hands. But I don't, what do you see there, Missy?
Well, Alec Roth actually floats, which you don't want to do. She's behind the other blocker. Not ideal, and it may actually work to her advantage this time because it may have caused Belle Zimmerman to avoid the hand. As you see, Roth is floating there behind the other blocker. She was a little late. She's reaching into the seam. And so what's in question is her right pinky there.
The video evidence has to be 100% conclusive to overturn the call. The call was a touch off of Alec Roth, the 6'3" freshman out of Dublin, Ohio, the Ohio Gatorade Player of the Year, American Volleyball Coaches Association first-team high school All-American. So another good get down to Gainesville for Mary Wise to go along with Taylor Parks and Jayla Auguste. But Florida has gone through the decades. Go ahead, Missy.
No, I just noticed the teammates are giving her a hard time, and she has said, you can read her lips, I did not touch that. So I don't know if that's true or if that's what she wants to believe. We'll see what the officials think.
After the review, the original decision will be reversed. There was no touch by the Florida block. It will be a point for Florida, and they will retain their challenge.
That's a really big reversal and good use of the challenge, and a little bit risky one because, again, if that challenge had not been, or the call had not been overturned via the challenge, Coach Wise and the Gators would have been without a challenge for the remainder of this match, at least until the 5th set. So now 23-20, a little more separation in the red zone.
I like the fact that we had Alec Roth alongside Mary Wise there, the two individuals perhaps most invested in the results of that challenge, and they were both very happy to see the results.
Well, but we've both seen it hundreds of times. I mean, the block challenge is absolutely the toughest one. So that's a little bit of a roll of the dice, and good response by Dreves and Auburn coming out of the challenge delay.
With Taylor Parks across the front row, that is the smallest block that Auburn has seen so far today, and Lauren Dreves was thrilled to have a swing down the line.
Zimmerman on the early evening, 5 of 16. To McKissick. Must have if you're Auburn. Good cover by DaCosta. Ball set a little bit too tight into the block. Roth is there with Parks. And again. Dug by McKissick. To get within one. Off the edge of the block and down. Good hard work by Auburn.
Yeah, and
Zimmerman again out of the right back.
Yeah, they do not have Madison Shear in middle back, but because Belle Zimmerman is now serving, they have the right back attack. And boy, do they need it. It is so much pressure on Lauren Dreves up there in the front row if it weren't for that back row swing.
Timeout called by Florida, so they won the challenge. And then Auburn just is not going to go away. Auburn very much, as we told you before, first serve with their backs up against it. Our week 13 SEC Network football lineup starts Saturday at 12:45 Eastern with number 10 Georgia hosting UMass. Then at 4:15, number 23 Missouri takes on Mississippi State, and we cap the night off with Vanderbilt and LSU. Back with Missy Whittemore. I'm Paul Sunderland on behalf of our SEC Network crew down in Auburn. Hope you're enjoying this contest as the season winds down. Kentucky, Mississippi State tonight, and then against Arkansas on Sunday. Right now in the driver's seat for what would be their 8th straight, either outright conference championship or a share thereof. They shared it actually with Florida in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, Missy.
I'm just thinking about the lineups, Paul, and boy, when Florida goes to Parks, and right now tonight with AC Fitzpatrick out of the lineup, they've got Harden out there. This team gets really young in a hurry. 2 freshman middle blockers, a freshman on the left pin, and a freshman setting right now for Florida.
Parks has been on the floor for a while, but why do you think Mary Wise made the change?
You know, I've just seen them go to it anytime they feel like they just need a little bit different look. Things are slow. How can they, you know, it's just like a spark plug for them right now to have these two setters. A little difference, you know. I think they feel like Taylor Parks sometimes across the back row, because of the injury that Alexis Stuckey is still dealing with, can provide them a little more defense across the back row, not let some balls hit the floor, but they do give up some of that blocking height at the net.
Yeah, Stuckey at 6'2", Parks at just under 6 feet. And a big, and I do mean big, service error. There's Stuckey wearing number 5 in black.
And, you know, for the future of her career, and boy, we hope it's a long one, really having a second setter and allowing her to slowly play her way back in is the absolute safest thing for her.
Yeah, 14 months out from a very, very serious injury and surgery. McKissick, even Ellie McKissick can't keep that one off the floor. One set point saved by Auburn. Reeves will go back to the line. Standing young player. Struggled against Texas, 4 of 34. Texas is awfully good these days now that they've settled in on the 5-1. You do not want to see them in your part of the bracket. What a pass by McKissick. Good cover by Kanan. And then off the right side. Kennedy Martin, number 18 in black, wants the ball and gets it this time. 11 kills on 28 swings. Auburn very, very close. Really good challenge taken by Mary Wise and the Florida Gators, and they go up 2-0, looking to make it 9 in a row in the SEC.
19, and you think, is it possible? But the KPI at 15 makes you feel like they could still land that 16th seed. And of course, the top 16 seeds with the opportunity to play on their home floor for rounds 1 and 2. It is a big opportunity in this tournament, particularly because of the depth of the field this year. There are going to be some round 2 matches that are just going to be out of this world. And so to have the home court advantage in those, I think it's going to be massive this year.
There are going to be a lot of really, really good teams that aren't going to host. They're going to be outside that 16, and some of the job of the committee and geographically how they put things. Florida's got South Carolina and then at Georgia to close things out. I think if they win both of those, I think the committee will look very favorably upon giving the Gators a top 16. Because you go back and look at the KPI. Florida lost to South Florida at the beginning of the year. That goes down right now as a bad loss, but Kennedy Martin, Alexis Stuckey didn't play.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, South Florida might win their conference. They could be a conference winner. So they have actually protected Florida with how they have played this season. They have protected Florida with their performance.
Yeah,
you're always rooting
South
for
Florida
those teams who beat you.
Got a couple of quality wins. Here's Isabel Martin back to serve. The transfer from UNLV having a nice night. 8 of 24, only 1 error. Kennedy Martin not great in the error category. Just tapping straight down over the top. Martin now with 13 kills on 30 swings, but has 5 errors. An error in volleyball statistics is either when you hit a ball out of bounds or get blocked on your side for a point.
And by the way, Paul, Kennedy Martin has played in 47 matches as a Gator, and she has double-digit kills in every last one of them.
Wow.
Incredible.
Auburn off to a couple of pretty good starts. They did in set number 1. They did as well in set number 2. It was 19-18, but in both occasions, Martin, Isabel, and Kennedy were able to sprint away from Auburn. That ball set too tight, and the throwdown is in. Right on the line. Good save that time by the 6'6" Martin.
But it took 3 swings for Kennedy Martin to get that kill. There's a nice dig by one Martin and a nice finish by the other Martin of Florida. But I'll tell you, it took 3 swings for her. And in this 5-1, Coach Crouch told us we now have a defensive specialist in right back half of the time. And they were hoping that perhaps they could defend Kennedy Martin a little better, and I think they have.
Haley Edson, who injured her ankle on Friday, the 5'10" freshman out of Centralia, Illinois, had been the starter in the 5-1 system deployed by Brent Crouch of late. Clearly earned that position over the Oklahoma transfer Peyton Dunn. Hit by Dreves and then missed out of bounds. Just wide that time by #1 Shear.
Lots of swings from the pins so far today for Auburn. Just moments ago, before she rotated out, we saw a slide kill from Bella Bell. She's playing in the middle now in this new 5-1, but she typically would attack off 1 foot behind the setter, even in the 6-2, and in that attack, she was hitting over 600. So I think they could get a few more looks from her.
Oh, mishandled opportunity. That one missed, dug by off of Shear, but then mishandled by the Auburn Tigers. They're 14-10, 4-9 in conference, and on absolute fumes and life support coming in. Their RPI was at 45, KPI at 38. They had wins over Florida State and Kentucky. The win over Kentucky was 3-2, seems a lifetime ago. And to your point, Missy Whittemore, about getting the ball into the middle, and Chelsea McCurdy with looks to be an easy kill.
Yeah, I just think they're asking a lot of the pins, who are almost regularly swinging against 4 hands, blockers, waiting on them. If they could get just a little out of the middle and hold that young Florida block, because you're talking 2 freshman middle blockers for Florida, make them think a little.
Working on Harden in reception, and that ball, another hitting error. And it's much worse to hit the ball out of bounds than it is to get blocked. And I think of the now 6 hitting errors from Kennedy Martin, emphasis on I think all of them have been balls that have been outside the lines.
We talked about the fact of how much they have been setting her as of late, and you do feel like if there was going to be a lapse in play, she's going to be tired better now than in the tournament, but she just doesn't seem to have that pop on the ball right now. She looks, her arm doesn't look quite as fast, and boy, it's understandable, I would say, with how many balls she has taken a swing at as of late.
And to shake it off, a little bit tight, a little bit out of rhythm, and blocked for the first time as memory serves. Good response by Auburn. Remember, we're tied at 12 in the opening set, and then Kennedy Martin and Florida just absolutely cruised 25-17. It was 19-18 Florida. And remember that very, very important challenge that Mary Wise won to make it 23-20 in the red zone.
And this is a really nice choice there. But you saw McCurdy had to hold, because Jayla Augustus had some swings early in this match, and that's creating holes on the outside for Florida that Auburn just hasn't had.
Well, I think Brent Crouch, very, very good coach down at Auburn. Back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances. Only 3 total in the history of Auburn volleyball. The last, before Coach Crouch arrived, was in 2010. And just like you, Missy, get the ball into the middle off of a targeted reception. Make life a little bit easier for everybody else, for the likes of Shear and Dreves. Oh, good block. Couple of blocks here for Auburn. That'll give you some momentum. Nice work by Bell.
And a big ask of Bella Bell, who, as we said, is a former middle blocker, but it's been a while. And asking her to go back to that side-to-side blocking movement, what a nice job by her. We know she's a great blocker, but when you haven't played in the middle for a while, it's a big adjustment.
That's a service mistake to McKissick, and an easy side out. Do not hit the ball at number 23 in white. Do not serve number 23 in white. This has been absolutely superb. 22 digs so far on the match. She had 13 or 14 in the opening set when she was on fire. 5th match this season with 20-plus digs, and she will become the all-time dig leader in Gainesville. Here's Kanan, looking short. Good block touch by Auguste. DaCosta's been awfully good in her own right and left back. Oh, smart tip. McKissick, did she get a hand under that? Auburn thought maybe the ball was down. And off of McKissick and out of bounds. Haven't said that very often tonight. Dug by McKissick, dug by McKissick. Haven't said off McKissick.
Yeah, well, they won't have to challenge it because they win the point either way. But wow, what incredible effort by McKissick in real time. Oh, I think she did get it up in real time. I didn't think she made it, but she's got some long arms for her size. I think she was there.
That was a really good look. I think McKissick was there as well with her offhand. Heavily bandaged left wrist. You don't see her set overhand very often, and she will go to the sideline for half a rotation. Will just be replaced by one player, one middle blocker who will stay on and serve. Windermere, Florida, 29 matches last year, all at Libero. 4 digs that season as well. A little bit of a collision. Hoyle in the back row who came on to serve.
Yeah, right off of Kennedy Martin, and a ricochet off Emerson Hoyle, who's still trying to shake that one off.
Oh, good swing by Martin, and a beautiful set that time by Taylor Parks. Yeah, Emerson Hoyle, wearing number 3 in black, 5'10" junior, out of Arden, North Carolina, coming on to serve in that 1 rotation, or half a rotation, if you will, for McKissick.
And these Florida attackers do not seem phased by the setting change. In the middle of a set, they go from one to another, and these players just keep on taking big swings.
Smart shot that time by Bell. Reset after the ball was set too tight, and beating McKissick inside the block. Nicely done by Shear.
When that Auburn attack is able to get around the block, when they're able to cut one a hard angle inside the block, there is a lot of court over there, and that's been one area where they've been able to find some kills. Florida block obviously needing to drop that left hand, try to take away just a little more angle.
Ace, oh, just out of bounds. Boy, well left that time by McKissick. But the linesman hesitated for a moment, and Bella Humphrey thought that she might have had a service winner, and we might have a challenge. When I watched it live, it looked like it was very, very close, and the linesman almost started down before he came up. So we will have a challenge now by Auburn.
The original decision is that Auburn served the ball out of bounds. They are challenging that the ball was in.
I think
First
this
challenge, memory serve so far on the night. Yep.
Yeah, definitely worth a green card.
This might be our best look. Yeah, that ball's out.
I wasn't sure in real time, and to be truthful, I'm still not sure.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. I'm just, as usual, offering up my opinion, whether anybody wants it or not. I just thought that the ball was out of bounds. The SEC... Yeah, we have the SEC incorporated Hawkeye, so we should have a Hawkeye look on this particular line. There's a camera right on the line.
Out, Auburn will lose this challenge.
So the call will stand. Auburn loses its challenge. So each team has 1 challenge remaining. And there's the Hawkeye look.
Oh, wow. Look how clear that is. Amazing.
I told you. I knew it was out.
I never doubted
that's the look, and I love the Hawkeye look. That's no doubt about it. That's a great look, and the ball just out of bounds by Bella Humphrey, who, as you pointed out, was the best point scorer against Texas. What do you think, Missy, right now? We have just a second of what you've seen from Texas of late, because they've been kind of a very enigmatic all season long until the last 3 or 4 matches.
Well, I mean, like most teams across the country, they tend to look more in rhythm in the 5-1. It's only Louisville right now who's making a go with the 6-2. So it's going to be interesting to see if Louisville can compete with that 6-2. I feel like for Texas, the offense is so prolific, and they have 2 dominant right sides, but the rhythm you're seeing with one setter just completely outweighs that.
Yeah, I really like what Texas has done going back to the 5-1. Avery Carlson, the transfer from Baylor, has taken over the setting roles. Here's Peyton Dunn. Auburn leading by 1. Must-win situation for the Auburn Tigers, not only this evening against the Gators, but probably the next 3 matches in a row. That ball missed badly that time by the freshman Harden, making her first start in the place of A.C. Fitzpatrick.
And that's the situation that Mary Wise said we'd like to avoid. We asked her this week, how many balls do you set to Lauren Harden? And she said, well, hopefully not many out of system. In system, we use her. Out of system, we really try not to put pressure on her. And they serve short there and force her to pass, which she does quite well.
That ball, still no call from the linesman. the linesman to the left who's got the best look at that. The ball was off the block and out of bounds. Yeah, he may have.
I wonder if he was blocked by Kennedy Martin. Yeah, by Kennedy Martin's body, and so he may not have made a call, but it was pretty clearly out of bounds off the block.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right as McKissick goes back to serve. Auburn still leading by 1, trailing 2-0. Off speed, good read. Enforced error this time by the Gators after a pretty good defensive play by Taylor Parks in the right back.
Forcing Taylor Parks to make first contact, and then they're leaving them in a situation where their only option is the freshman on the left pin. There's no back row attack here. They're going to have to start hanging some out-of-system balls to the right pin for Kennedy Martin.
Isabel Martin, perfect pass, and then again off the edge of the block and out of bounds. Florida's offense has really cooled off. Just now with that kill hitting $165 in this particular set, and 240 so far on the match. They lead the league in hitting efficiency at 304, 6th best in the nation, so some credit to the serving and defensive hard work of the Auburn Tigers. Reception, good dig. Kennedy Martin playing center field. Zimmerman, dug by Parks. Got to keep the ball on your side of the net. Where the block for Florida is doing good work. They're getting hands on everything until a very unlikely shot goes to the floor by Zimmerman.
Florida with a freshman front row right now. Parks, Harden, and August across the front row. This is a very young look Gators, and I think Auburn can put some pressure on them here.
Auburn hitting 304. Florida, we detailed that momentarily about how they're struggling right now offensively. Good pass by Zimmerman, and Kennedy Martin on the pipe.
Those two-hitter rotations have become really almost more scary because of what good back row attacking we're starting to see now in the women's game. And I think of the big transition from having your 0-1 be your dominant left side to now using that dominant left side in the 0-2 position to have them in the back court available for a back row attack down the middle in those two-hitter rotations. It's been a huge change in the game.
With the service error, we'll get to the media timeout. Auburn, the Tigers must-win situation. Got to get on the board against Florida. Easier said than done. Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, and then Arkansas. Remember, Missy, they were up 2-0. 23-20. Arkansas got off the deck and came back and won that in a reverse sweep. So it's not impossible, but it is a very, very big ask. But Auburn now at 4-9 in conference. But kudos to them and their coach Brent Crouch building the program, getting to the NCAA tournament in each of the last 2 years, where SEC had 8 teams in the tournament. Augusta's dug. We haven't called her name in a while. That's a really good swing. That's Lauren Dreves off the left side, wearing number 2 in orange for Auburn Tigers. Largest lead of the match at 16-13.
And Paul, I will say, coming into this one, I did wonder, is this a bit of a trap match for Florida, who just had Auburn on their home court on November 8th, and Auburn didn't even score 20 points in a single set. Florida held them to 14, 18, and 19. It almost came so easy that you have to wonder how hard is it to get up for a second match against a team that you've disposed of so quickly.
Yeah, very, very important tip kill that time into the campfire for Isabel Martin. I think you make a really interesting point. I mean, we talk about what Auburn has to do, and so literally no margin for error, but Florida as well. How important will it be for them to win out and then guarantee themselves a chance to host, as Emerson Hoyle misses that into the top of the net? So point in possession back to the Tigers, each team with both of their timeouts remaining.
And remember, Florida's most favorable number is that KPI number, which takes into account margin of victory. So winning in 3 sets improves their KPI.
Short serve, boy, a steady diet of Martin right now, who got off to a very, very slow start. Opening set, 4 kills, 3 errors, barely above hitting 0. And since that time has really been racking it up. 16 kills, and now on 44 swings, hitting 320. Another service error. These are back-to-back big mistakes.
And quite honestly, Taylor Parks, along with Alexis Stuckey, could be the two best servers on this team. Unfortunately, they can't have them both in the serving rotation because they have to reserve that right to make a substitution if they need to change setters at some point. But both of them are quite capable of point scoring.
And then the Tigers return the favor. Who is going to put pressure on as both teams move towards the red zone? Florida, ranked number 20 in the country, won the opening set 25-17, took the second 25-23. Big challenge executed by Mary Wise late in that one to give them the 23-20 advantage. And here is Isabel Martin. Very easy serve to DaCosta. You cannot do that. I know you've missed a couple before that, but still, that was way too easy in the kill for Shear.
And if it's going to be an easier serve, definitely don't put it on DaCosta. Ask someone else to make that pass.
DaCosta's having a very nice match. What a battle between two outstanding liberos. DaCosta with 13 digs, and we've talked all night long about Ellie McKissick now with 24. Very good in reception as well. Timeout is called by Florida. Ravel had quite a career. Very, very interesting indeed. He graduated from Saginaw Valley State, undrafted, worked super hard, and he also communicated that to his very, very talented daughter. Went on to play 9 years in the NFL and on the staff at Green Bay. And he has been an incredible parent and mentor and sports psychologist for his incredibly gifted daughter, Kennedy Martin. The front runner for the AC. Let me ask you, is she the front runner for the SEC Player of the Year?
I think so, absolutely. With what she's done in the last 6 weeks, I think she is right now.
And that's why just keep feeding Kennedy Martin. Now 22 kills on 45 swings.
Mary Wise told us she plays with a chip on her shoulder, and she learned that from her dad. Went to a D2 college and then on to the NFL. Always felt like he had something to prove. And Kennedy Martin, Mary Wise says, she hasn't made every USA junior national team, and there's been a few things that she hasn't been included in. And Mary Wise says, that's fine with us because it keeps that chip on her shoulder.
Through the blocking down, excellent swing by Shear, and Auburn's not going to go away.
And Auburn finding some ways to put some pressure on Lauren Harden, who's the freshman, hasn't played in a lot of matches for Florida, and I think that's wise. They got to serve her balls. They've got to ask her to block, put as much pressure on her as they possibly can.
Auburn much, much better offensively in this, the third set, when their backs are against the wall. 11 kills with just one error. And there is Jayla Auguste with a kill out of the middle, wearing number 4 in black, the 6'2 freshman out of Spring, Texas, high school All-American, under 19 world champion for the United States. 20-18. Tough serve by Martin. Dug by who else? McKissick giving her team a chance, and that ball is missed out of bounds. That is a big miss by the freshman Lauren Harden. Setting mistake there. Don't you have to go to Kennedy Martin out of the back row?
Well, I even think Jayla Auguste on a slide there is a great option. Jayla Auguste on the slide has been very good, and I think we talked about early in this third set Auburn trying to get their middle going. I think since Taylor Parks came in the match, Florida's middles have faded away a bit.
Very nice pass. Really well done by Isabel Martin.
Yeah, this is beautiful right here. And her ability off one foot as a freshman. Wow, kind of mind-blowing to think what the future holds.
Listed at 6'2", touches 10 feet 8 inches. Auburn's taken some difficult swings here. And was there a touch? We're going to have a challenge. No question. Lauren Dreves thought for sure she got a piece of the Florida block. This is a huge, huge call. Ball was called out of bounds. Auburn's lead, if the call stands, would be just 1.
And this is where the setting change actually helps Auburn a little, is that Lauren Dreves is much more confident swinging down that line against the smaller block.
The original decision was the ball, the attacked ball from Auburn was out, and Auburn is challenging that there was a touch on the play.
This is always the toughest one. Did that swing by Lauren Dreves out of Vancouver, Washington, wearing number 2 in orange, get a piece of Taylor Parks. Wow, that is super close. A lot of shadow.
Yeah.
What do you think, Missy?
I don't know that there's enough to I don't know if there's enough to overturn it.
Missy, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean,
looking at that, and the officials do have some looks that we don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's enough there to overturn that call, and that would be a tough break for Auburn.
Because I'm not convinced that the ball wasn't touched.
After the review, there was a touch during the play. Auburn will retain their challenge and win that point.
There you go. So one of the views as seen by the official, and that didn't...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like she gets a finger there. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, that's the right call, and that's why you love the replay system. Before it came into play, that ball would have been, or that point would have been given to Florida. Now it's 22-19.
Yeah, that's a big swing. In points, I mean, big swing in points.
Yep.
22-19. All of a sudden, that looks really favorable. If Auburn can just put their foot on the gas, which is an issue they have had, closing sets. This is a huge opportunity for the Tigers.
That's going to be 4 contacts. Just like that, 23-19. And Lauren Dreves with 7 kills on 39 swings. Shear leading the way with 12 kills. Bill Zimmerman has 8. Timeout called by Florida. We talked about Kennedy Martin and thinking that she is probably the front runner for the SEC Player of the Year. And it starts with her.
Yeah, for what she has done in 6 rotations, the offense that she's providing out of the back row, her ability to block balls, her serve is a dangerous point-scoring option as well. She's got to be a front runner, but don't look much further than Brooklyn DeLay for some great competition in this award, and they're both sophomores in the league. It was Brooklyn DeLay last year that was the freshman of the year in the SEC. Difference there, she passes a lot of balls for Kentucky, which I really respect. And then Maddie Skinner, the new addition to the SEC this year as Texas was part of the conference expansion, and no surprise to see her on this list. I think early in the season, as they played with their setting situation, we didn't see her in quite a rhythm, and I think that could hurt her when it comes to choosing the award.
Emma Grome, the outstanding setter for the University of Kentucky. She was the 2022 SEC Player of the Year. Jordan Iliff with some help leading the way for Missouri is having an outstanding season. Yeah, but Texas has been tough to figure out. They lose to Miami early in the non-conference, and then they lose 3 in a row, all in 5 sets at home to Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Missouri. But now they've switched back to the 5-1. I had them at Alabama. Alabama's not quite there yet, but Texas just looks like a Texas team of old.
And Paul, we'd be remiss not to mention Michael Vernon. Mizzou is an interesting team.
Good
that
call.
I think you could make a case for 2 players from Mizzou being the conference player of the year. Michael Vernon is just as good in terms of points per set as Jordan Iliff. And playing on the left side, she passes and does a whole lot for that Mizzou team.
What a wonderful save that time by Taylor Parks. Complete extension. And we've got a setting change. No, excuse me, that's Fallon Lanham. I thought I saw Kaylee Edson coming on the floor. 23-20. Good contact. And crushed off the right side by Bella Bell. Set points now for Auburn. What a gutsy response by the Tigers.
Great setting choice there with the good pass. I like the quick ball to Bella Bell. You know, this is a young Florida team tonight, and they had an opportunity to keep their foot on the gas and close it out. And they weren't able. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it done in 3. And the longer they play with this Auburn team, the more confident this Auburn team will become.
Free ball for the Tigers. A chance to get on the board. Out of the back row, nice dig once again by Kanai. And finally down. The Auburn fans with very good reason. Big time response by the Tigers to get on the board. They take the third set 25-20. Back with a fourth right after this. The end with an exclamation point.
Yeah, this Auburn team, a shot of confidence is about all they need to become very dangerous in a hurry. The talent has been there all season long. They have just struggled to close out some matches, and that group of bubble teams in the SEC is just beating one another up. Auburn certainly one of those.
Very good reason to celebrate. Nice choreography indeed by the Auburn Tigers on the bench. That is their first set win since November 3rd. They had lost 11 straight sets until taking down number 20 Florida 25-20 with Missy Whittemore in Gainesville. I'm Paul Sunderland out in Malibu, Florida. You saw what they did in the second set. In the third set, 265 to 382 for the likes of Madison Shear and Lauren Dreves. All right, now take us over to the Gators side, Missy. What's the adjustment for Florida? They thought they were going to get out of here 3-0. I know that's what they were thinking.
Well, quite honestly, with Lauren Harden on the floor, and if you're joining us late, AC Fitzpatrick not with the Gators tonight, a knee injury that she's dealing with, and so they have Lauren Harden on the left pin, and they were able to protect her, I thought, in sets 1 and 2, and just allow her to take some good in-system swings, not ask much of her. She was a little bit more involved there in that third set than I think they wanted her to be. So Florida has, again, made another adjustment. Look who's on the floor now. They've got a Maya Thomas in. Yeah, these are changes that have become, for Mary Wise teams who typically don't do a lot of subbing late in the season, this has been a big change in their strategy, and that they have gone to their bench quite often.
Well, change setters, that was the biggest change, and then going to a Maya Thomas, the 6'3" junior out of Orlando. There's Madison Shear once again leading the way offensively. No surprise there. 13 kills on 36 swings, hitting 250. Having a nice match against this Florida blocking defense.
Yeah, Florida, of course, looking different without AC Fitzpatrick, continues to make setting changes. And if you've seen Auburn recently, they're going to look different to you as well, as they've switched into a 5-1 here late in the year.
We have not seen Kaylee Edson. She warmed up for the match. She's been the starting setter in that 5-hitter, 1-setter rotation. The top recruit out of Centralia, Illinois. Injured her ankle in the match against Texas on Friday. There she is. Thank you very much. Number 6 in orange. Nice looking setter, very bright future, but can't compete in this one. She's been replaced, and capably, by Peyton Dunn.
Yeah, Peyton Dunn came in off the bench early in that Texas match and really was a spark plug for this Auburn team. I was so impressed with the way she played. She brought some energy and some consistency. The young Edson against the big Texas matchup had not set her best set in set 1, was a little rattled in that matchup, and I thought Dunn did quite well.
Steady diet of Kennedy Martin here to restore a little bit of order, if you will. Number 18 in black for Florida.
We mentioned that she is a finalist for the AVCA National Player of the Year, not just the SEC Player of the Year. That is a group that has been dwindled down to only 14 players across the entire nation. She is one of them.
Good dig by Martin, playing both ends. Lock deflection against Harden, and then put deeply into the cross court. Belle Zimmerman, you know, this Auburn team is pretty good on the pins and versatile, as you pointed out, Missy. They're comfortable hitting off the right and off the left.
Yeah, their bread and butter is at the pin. They can get plenty of production there, but I think they just need a small dose out of the middle, and they went back to that in set 3 to alleviate some of the double block situations for those pin players.
Boy, that ball looked like it was down, but ruled a save, and now it is down. Harden is blocked on the outside, and here comes Auburn. We were talking about it during the commercial break, Missy. Excuse me. You know, the longer you let Auburn hang around, especially with Florida being shorthanded.
With Harden in at the pin for AC Fitzpatrick, Florida has dealt with so many injuries over the last year and a half. They really do not have another pin player available unless, by using a Maya Thomas in the middle, they were to try Alec Roth as a backup at the pin. She's pretty versatile. So she's really their next pin available, and she's actually a middle blocker. So we could see another change yet from Florida.
Couple of serves off the top of the tape. And that is a very, very good deep serve to Isabel Martin. Here's Harden, and gets a much-needed kill for the Gators.
Yeah, I think that one's much needed for Florida, and I think it's much needed for Hardin as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. Lauren Hardin pressed into duty, 6'3" freshman. Her first start on the road out of Fishers, Indiana, hitting .233 so far in the year. Only 10 kills coming in as number 7, Emily Kanan, will go back to serve for the Gators. Florida leading 2-1. Martin is roofed. 3 big Auburn blockers right in front of Kennedy Martin.
Well, McCurdy 8th in the league with 1.2 blocks per set. She's one of the better blockers in the Southeastern Conference. And when you hit right straight forward into her, that's what she's going to do.
Well done getting 6 hands in front of Martin. And here is 14, Chelsea McCurdy. Transfer from Portland, where Brent Crouch has some ties. That's where he began his head coaching career. He took that program with basically nothing all the way up to very competitive in the West Coast Conference, and after that a couple of years at USC before coming into the SEC at Auburn.
And it'll be interesting this year. It'll be interesting this year, Paul, to see how many teams the West Coast Conference could place in the tournament.
I think 2.
Yeah.
I think LMU and San Diego will be the only 2 to get in. How many does the SEC get? That is the remaining question after 8 last year, and we counted them up. But we know Kentucky is in, we know Texas is in, Florida is in, Missouri's in, A&M is in, and then after that, it's anybody's best guess. A lot to still be decided.
Very much so. That last weekend is going to be of huge importance.
Nice play into the deep cross-court corner just by Bella Bell. Well, South Carolina on the bubble. Auburn gets themselves on the bubble if they win tonight. I think if they lose tonight, they're done. Ole Miss firmly on the bubble. Oklahoma still with some work to do. But their win at Texas, that is a real bonus, and they're much earned in their resume.
And we know those big quad 1 wins carry a lot of weight with the committee, and that's why I think Oklahoma is probably pretty safe, but they have to win 2 out of their last 3 just to finish 500 in the league.
December 1st, December 5 through 7, first and second rounds, the regionals 12th through the 15th, and then the semifinals and championship at the Yum Center in Louisville, Kentucky. The finals will be on ABC for the 2nd year. Fallon Lanham, a little bit of a difficulty there in reception as Taylor Parks has not only come in for Alexis Stuckey, but come in and stayed in. That's a tough serve. Martin looking for the tie and missed it out of bounds.
Started the match, yeah. And boy, it feels like Florida has just gone a little flat.
I agree. I agree with you. And again, credit to Auburn for hanging in and taking advantage of it. That's going to be a center line violation called against Thomas. 10-7. Very close to a timeout for Mary Wise, now in her 34th season. Her young team, and you talked about a very young team on the floor right now. To show some composure. Good high flat swing. You can hear the touch. Madison Shear going off the fingers.
This is Auburn's last opportunity at home before they go on the road at Oklahoma, at Mizzou, teams that we think are into the tournament. And we said to Coach Crouch, boy, you look at that schedule and you think, poor Auburn, or you think, wow, what opportunity out ahead. And so how will his team attack it?
Well, again, this is just my opinion. I haven't done the math, and you look at their KPI, and Auburn right now is at 38, and that's a very, very important measure to the committee because it takes in so many other subliminal levels, if you will, points scored, the schedule, matchups. So it's very important. And good block, Amaya Thomas, along with Kennedy Martin. I think, just to finish the thought, Auburn has to win this match to get themselves on the bubble. If they lose tonight, I think they're out. Do you agree with that, Missy?
Absolutely, and I think it's just as important for Florida in that they go back home and jump out of conference and play UCF, but then they go on the road at South Carolina and Georgia. However, if they lose this one, I don't think they have that opportunity to host either. So it is important either way.
Kennedy Martin, big kill by number 18 after a spectacular dig by Alexis DaCosta.
Taylor Parks, the movement to her right, which at times Florida has said is one of the reasons they'll make the change if they feel like Alexis Stuckey just isn't moving as well in right back. It's one of the reasons that they'll make that setting change.
I'll tell you, Shear is having a very nice third and into the fourth set, leading the way. Shear now with 16 kills on 41 swings. Pretty clean sheet. Working on Harden. Martin off speed and is able to get that ball to the floor. That's a break for Florida. Yeah, I think, Missy, I think we're on the same page. There are a couple of absolutes here. If Florida loses, they will not host. If Auburn loses, they will not go to the tournament for the third straight year.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why you look on paper, and this one is deceivingly, unbalanced match, and yet it's just not because of the importance of this match to these two teams.
By Parks. Oh, smart set. Really a smart set by McKissick. Could have gone the easy way to Harden, went all the way across to Kennedy Martin.
And right now, at this point in the match, going to Harden is not an option. For a fifth-year player like Ellie McKissick, you better know where you're going with that ball.
And she did. Harden on the night, 5 of 21 with 8 errors. So she's taken 21 swings, making her first start of her career. And she's going to be a good player, but she's given up 3 points. Good rhythm to Auburn's offense, but a better block. Quick move to the outside that time by Thomas. Excuse me, that's August.
August, yeah. Yeah, really nice work by August, who was, great read on her part. She starts to release there based on the pass. They have not been forcing balls to the middle. Neither of these teams, I don't think, has forced balls to the middle. And sometimes you will see these Florida setters take more risks than they have tonight.
Harden again off the right side is Doug on the overpass. Harden not yet. McKissick.
Wow.
Deja vu to the opening set. And that ball off the edge and out of bounds. Good long rally by both teams. Good swing to close it out.
Couple out-of-system style sets there to the right side where Kennedy Martin has not been able to take a swing.
Shear leading the way. Zimmerman getting involved as well. Here is Peyton Dunn, the transfer from Oklahoma. Good pass. Been targeting Martin, and that's missed out of bounds. Wow.
Kennedy Martin now has taken 57 swings, and we're just in set 3. Excuse me, set 4. I'm sorry, I apologize. As soon as I said that.
Kennedy Martin comes right back. She could set a new school record. I mean, it's 32 kills, an all-time record, which she had against Missouri in the 3-2 win. She now has 28 kills on 58 swings. Good serve on DaCosta. McKissick again. And that's going to be a double contact. Auburn certainly had a chance to take advantage, but Ellie McKissick lighten it up defensively. 29, make it 30 digs for Florida. At the media timeout, the series, I've done my share of college basketball with Alabama. Nate Oates has done a wonderful job with the Crimson Tide over the last several years. I'm sure they're going to have another very strong season. Kennedy Martin. Oh, good block. Boy, the block is really coming to the fore. And August again.
Yeah, Auguste is starting to impress me because early in the season, this is a Florida team who just was not touching a lot of balls. Not only were they not scoring on their block, but they weren't touching a lot of balls. And to see the progress that Jayla Auguste has made basically on the run over the course of the season has been a lot of fun to watch.
Stab by McKissick, but Martin can't get there. Yeah, 2.2 blocks per set is not good enough for Florida, but when you have young players and Auguste coming in and doing such a good job offensively and learning on the fly, it is very, very difficult. Important, but difficult. Shear back to serve. Auburn looking for the tie. They've not been very good in point scoring and missed that ball out of bounds. We haven't talked about the service story. It's been pretty good on both sides. Florida with 5 aces to go along with next just 7 errors, and Auburn also with 5 aces, and that was the 11th error as Shear will go to the sideline. And on 11 digs in the most recent win over Missouri. That's a serving mistake. And Florida pays the price right to Alexis DaCosta, the libero.
Trying hard to put it on Lauren Dreves, but I think you have to credit Alexis DaCosta, who does a good job of stealing balls, and that's what she's out there for. They want her to pass every ball she can get to, and she does a great job of shading toward Dreves. We all know they're wanting to put balls on the freshman.
Isabel Martin's been pretty good in reception. She's holding up nicely. That ball dug, but over the sideline. I tell you, pressure on both teams for different reasons, but more pressure on Florida, Missy?
I don't know. Florida's played well on the road. I'm sure they would like to host, you know, so I don't know. As a coach, are you thinking, well, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing if we had to travel? I think probably a little more pressure on Auburn, but Florida knows what's at stake. It's hard to say. That's why I think this match is just doubly important.
That ball off of Emerson Hoyle. Yeah, SEC play, Kennedy Martin and the Florida Gators are a perfect 5-0. Their only road loss all season long. They're 7-1 on the road. All season long was at Georgia Tech.
Yeah. A tough place to play, and a place that they could perhaps end up going to in the tournament if they themselves don't host.
Good cover. That ball covered nicely that time by Kanan. A better block by Bella Bell, and Auburn tied at 18.
A little more Bella Bell here late in the match, and that's equaled point production for Auburn, not only out of the middle, but helping to open those pins.
Boy, very, very close. Auburn looking to put some pressure on as Taylor Parks, who came in to replace Alexis Stuckey back in the second set, on to serve. On the match, Florida's hitting 262 to 236 for Auburn. That ball served out of bounds. Nail-biting time on the road, tied at 19. The stakes couldn't be higher for each of these teams. Different, but very, very high. Auburn has to win, we agree, in order to even get on the bubble. And Florida wants to host. McKissick again, dig number 31. And Kennedy Martin from the left. That's big-time transition volleyball for the Gators.
Yeah, and a nice addition to Florida's arsenal in that particular rotation, they've become quite comfortable in that rotation one of keeping Kennedy Martin at the left pin and Isabel Martin at the right pin. They both look really confident swinging.
I bet if she breaks the record in 4 sets on the overpass, Martin's got to put that ball away. Martin dug, but just too much heat. Kill number 31.
Wow.
Timeout is called by Auburn. Florida leading 21-19, 32 kills in the 5-setter against Missouri, had 31 against Tennessee and South Carolina.
So 3 times this season, she has gone for 31-plus kills. 2 of those were in 4-set matches, and here she is again with 31 already in this 4th set. Just continues to impress, and quite honestly, a match where we've seen her at times not look like what she's capable of. We've seen the setting change. We've seen a little bit of connection issues, maybe some flat-out fatigue, to be quite honest with you, which I think she's allowed a little of that at this point in the season. But in 62 swings, she's killed 31 of those. So even on a night where we think she's left a few out there, Paul, that's still an incredible kill percentage.
30 kills or more in 4 of the last 7 matches. I told you that the 31 was against Tennessee. I had that part right. The other was against Arkansas. But again, you know, 4 kills and 3 hitting errors in the opening set. 9 hitting errors totally going back and forth between setters. But all in all, another unstoppable night. Brooklyn DeLay had 30 kills the other day against Georgia. Outstanding player in contention for SEC Player of the Year. 31 kills, 62 swings. Also in the 30 club, but a different kind, Ellie McKissick with 30 digs. I had her with 31. She'll get 31 before the night's out. McKissick was fantastic from the very beginning.
And Paul, you have to understand. Yeah, you have to understand that trickle-down effect of not having A.C. Fitzpatrick on the floor. They're going to ask Kennedy Martin to take more looks out of system. And still, a block there for Auburn. Well done by Auburn.
Very timely. Auburn's a good blocking team. The stats say that all season long.
And to finish that, still hitting above 350, even though we know she's taking more out-of-system looks. But, of course, Auburn at this point can cheat that way. I mean, we know the ball is going to Kennedy Martin.
Oh, good eye by McKissick. Has left a couple of very close serves go. And McKissick closing out on her career. Graduate in her 5th year at the University of Florida. Before she's done, she'll be the all-time leader in digs. Florida 3 points away. And it hasn't been easy. Second set, 25-23. 3rd set, they lost it 25-20. Easy serve. McCurdy, no to the outside. Madison Shear again, and that was against McKissick.
Well, we came out early and highlighted these 2 players. We didn't see them in set 1 play up to the standards we expected, but boy, have they responded. Madison Shear now 18 kills, hitting nearly 250.
NCAA tournament host, you have to be a top 16 seed. You look at Florida's resume and the AVCA, they're number 20, RPI 19, KPI at 15. And for Auburn, win the match and you stay in the conversation with a couple of very, very difficult matches still to come at Oklahoma and Missouri. And this Auburn program under Brent Crouch has been to back-to-back NCAA tournaments for the first time in their history. They've only been to one other NCAA tournament, and that was all the way back in 2010. Different story for Mary Wise and Florida. They are a constant in the NCAA tournament. 33 straight tournament appearances for the Gators. Mary Wise in her 34th year. Back with Missy Whittemore at her home in Gainesville. I'm Paul Sunderland out on the West Coast in Malibu. And it has been a battle, and you knew it would be with so much on the line.
I'll tell you, it's hard to believe right now, Paul, that Florida's on an 8-match winning streak and Auburn's on an 8-match losing streak.
It is.
It's not playing out before us, and yet this is exactly what I expected because of what is at stake in this match. And both of these teams are very talented, and boy, the conference has just become a hard out. You know, each night out, there is a team across the net that's going to take their best shot at you, and if you don't show up with your A game, you better watch out.
Well, and the perfect example of that is Texas when they lose 3 straight at home in 5 sets in the SEC. That's the first time that Texas has lost 3 straight since 2006. Oh, what a nice play. Auguste out of the middle, and now Florida just 2 points away.
And I said moments ago, we all know the ball is going to Kennedy Martin, including Auburn, who was starting to cheat that way. I think that's a really important set.
McKissick has now tied her career high with 31 digs. This is her 140th match for the Gators. Nice dig by Martin, right on target, back to August. Beautiful dig by 6'6" Kennedy Martin in center field.
Quite honestly, I'm surprised we haven't seen a little more of that, of the Florida setters being a little riskier and finding their middles in transition. I think they got uncomfortable and just went away from that for a while.
Remember, coming up, and you can watch it over on the app right now, Mark Sears and Alabama, currently ranked number 9 after they lost their opener at Purdue, taking on the Fighting Illini in the CM Newton Classic. CM, one of the wonderful coaches, SEC history at Alabama for a long time. Florida 1 point away. They have South Carolina. That's a revenge match for the Gators, if memory serves. And then at Georgia, what will be Sophie Fisher's last match. Georgia has had a disappointing season after going to the NCAA tournament last year.
And Mary Wise joked with us and said, I don't think anyone wants to be Sophie Fisher's last match. And yet it looks as though the Florida Gators will be just that. So, again, a team who's had a disappointing year, and yet I expect that to be a challenging match for Florida. And they've already been beat by South Carolina this season. In fact, swept by South Carolina on their home floor. So another tough opponent. But the good news in that is that it's also an opportunity for revenge and to show the committee how far they have come in a short period of time.
Well, I agree with you. I was watching Georgia the other day. They're 73 in the RPI. They're 10-13 and 4-9. And Sophie Fisher last year, the SEC Player of the Year, this year averaging under 3 kills per set, which is not Sophie Fisher-like numbers. She is a fantastic player with a very bright future. But the moment is now for number 20 Florida, looking to get out of Auburn and keep their hopes and dreams of hosting. Martin with a tough serve and a winner to close it out. Kennedy Martin with the winner.
She doesn't break the record again tonight. Only 31 kills. I guess that's an off night, but they get the win, and I think that's what's important to the Gators.
Florida improved to 20-5. Most importantly, 11-3 in conference. Thanks for joining us here on the SEC Network. Coming up right now, college basketball in Birmingham. It is